There's this common idea that being highly intelligent just solves all your problems, that if you're smarter, you'll make better choices. And of course, an easier life will just follow. But the psychological reality, it's a bit more complicated than that. High intelligence doesn't get rid of life's struggles, it just gives them a different shape. So let's just ask it straight up. Is being smart a superpower, or can it sometimes feel like a massive burden? If you've ever felt like your own mind is both your greatest asset and your biggest obstacle, then yeah, you are definitely in the right place. And listen, if that feeling resonates with you, you are so not alone. This is an incredibly common experience. It's not because there's something wrong with you, not at all. It's because your brain is wired to process reality in a fundamentally different way. And that brings us right to the heart of what we're talking about today, the intelligence paradox. It's this wild contradiction where having a mind that can solve insanely complex problems doesn't automatically lead to a simple, happy life. It just redefines the kind of challenges you're going to face. All right, so where do we even start with these challenges? Well, the first stop on our tour is inside your own head. We've got to talk about that constant buzz, that nonstop internal monologue that defines the overactive mind. So we're going to look at three big things here. Why your mind never seems to shut off, why you get bored so easily, and this weird tendency to analyze your emotions instead of, just feeling them. Okay, first up, that feeling that your brain just won't switch off. It's like it's always on, right? Well, that's because it kind of is. Your mind is built for continuous processing. It's constantly analyzing everything, replaying that conversation from 3 days ago, questioning that one decision, even when all you want to do is just relax. And here's where we need to flip the script a little. We often label this constant mental churn as anxiety, or we think it's some kind of weakness. But really, it's a sign of cognitive depth. It's a feature, not a bug. The only problem? It can be absolutely exhausting because finding that off switch feels impossible sometimes. All right, next up, boredom. Oh man, the boredom. Because your mind chews through information so fast, things that are, normal for other people, repetitive tasks, slow-moving conversations, predictable meetings, it can feel like actual mental torture. Your brain is just starved for something interesting. And this is so important. This is not laziness. It's not a discipline problem. It is a genuine neurological need. Your brain needs complexity. It craves a challenge. Without that, your motivation just, poof, it's gone. Okay, so that's the internal world. But what happens when that super active mind has to interact with, the rest of the world? Because this stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? It totally shapes how you deal with people and society. Coming up, we're going to hit on a few things. Feeling lonely even when you're in a room full of people, that natural instinct to question rules and authority, and that constant, nagging feeling of being misunderstood while trying to find your way. You ever been there? You're at a party, surrounded by people, but you feel completely and utterly alone. It's such a common thing, and it's not because you're antisocial or you dislike people, it's because the small talk, it just feels so empty. You're craving a real connection, something with substance. And this right here is such a key difference to understand. The isolation you might feel isn't social, it's cognitive. You don't dislike people, you just feel disconnected from how they think. You're missing that click, that incredible feeling when you finally find someone who's on your wavelength. And then there's the whole issue with rules and authority. A highly analytical mind just can't accept because that's the way we've always done it. It needs to know why. It's always looking for the logic. Now that's amazing for innovation, but in a rigid top-down workplace or school, that can cause some serious friction. Okay, so we've covered the internal stuff and the social stuff. Now let's get into what might be the heaviest part of all of this, the emotional weight. The unique psychological burdens that come with having such a powerful mind. So in this part, we're tackling the big ones, experiencing stress on a whole other level, the trap of perfectionism, being your own worst critic, and that struggle to ever feel truly satisfied. Let's kick things off with perfectionism. Here's the thing, when you can see with perfect clarity how something could be, how a project should look, then anything that falls short of that ideal feels like a massive failure. And what does that lead to? Procrastination, anxiety, and a whole lot of beating yourself up. But again, this gets mistaken for arrogance all the time. But it's not. It's about clarity. It's not about thinking you're better than everyone else. It's the simple, frustrating fact that you can see a better version of something, and that gap between your vision and the reality, it's so uncomfortable. And that same clarity, it doesn't just apply to projects. It gets turned inward, fueling a brutal inner critic. Because you're so self-aware, you see your own mistakes and flaws in glorious, high-definition detail. And that can turn into a 24/7 performance review inside your own head. And this right here, this says it all. The pressure isn't coming from other people. It's coming from inside. You're not comparing yourself to others. You're comparing yourself to this perfect, idealized version of you that you think you should be. And that is an impossibly high bar to clear. All right, I know. After hearing all that, things might sound a little bleak. But hold on. What if we've been looking at this from completely the wrong angle? Let's use our last few minutes together to completely reframe this whole thing. If you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. These challenges, the overthinking, the feeling of being alone, that inner critic, they are not character flaws. What are they then? Think of them as the cost of depth. It's just the natural side effect of having a mind that experiences the world with more intensity. It's the price you pay for deeper awareness, deeper emotions, and a deeper sense of responsibility. So, I want to leave you with this question. Maybe these things aren't problems to be fixed. Maybe they're just part of the operating system. And if that's true, then what if the real goal isn't to get rid of these struggles, but to just understand them? Because really, understanding how your mind works is the first, most important step to actually learning how to live with it.